Hi there, this is called the Gindi trap in the closed Sicilian, and it's a pet line of the very amicable chess-playing psychologist Gindi. He once totally decimated me with this very trap in a rapid tournament in Herzlyia. But my shame was relieved to some degree when I discovered that he has used this very trap to destroy GM Soffer as well as GM Bikovsky. It's in the Sicilian. E4 and c5, white goes for a closed line with knight c3 and knight c6. White plays f4, perhaps heading for a Grand Prix attack. After g6 and knight f3, and black fianchettos the king's bishop, a common defensive line here. Instead of playing the Grand Prix with bishop c4, white opts to play d3 instead. E6 is a defensive idea whereby the king's knight is usually going to head for e7 and the queen's knight might jump into d4. So after bishop e3, hitting the c5 pawn, black can defend with d6, but d4 is straight to the point. White can try and loosen up and soften that knight on d4 by playing e5 now, cutting off the king's bishop's diagonal. d6 was played by myself and by Soffer and Bikovsky. Perhaps more correct would have been knight e7 here, giving up a pawn, but after knight takes d4, c takes d4, bishop takes d4, d6 now is interesting because it threatens to open up the diagonal and capture the bishop on d4. But that's a hard move to see in rapid play. Instead, d6 was played by the three of us. And after the knight now jumps into the vacated hole on e4, threatening to take on d6. Again, the best move perhaps for black here might have been knight to f5, defending d6 while hitting e3. But more natural is the capture. Knight takes on f3, and after queen takes f3, white now is firmly in the driving seat. Black continues with d takes e5, and after f takes on e5 and bishop takes on e5, now bishop takes on c5. In this position, Grandmaster Bikovsky was cut to size very quickly after he played f5, because that allowed d4, and it was a rapid game. Bikovsky made a bad mistake here with f takes on e4, and that's going to be mate soon, not immediate mate on f8, because the king can run to d7, but first bishop b5 check, with mate following. The next move on f8, queen f8 is going to be mate. Going back, instead of f5, knight f6 was played by Soffer and by myself. White answers with d4, and after knight takes on e4 and queen takes on e4, hitting the bishop jumps back to d6, trying to swap and perhaps to allow the king to castle. Bishop b5 check, and this is where Soffer and myself went our separate ways. I played an inferior move here, king f8, which allowed queen e5, hitting the rook. Bishop takes queen, can't happen because it's pinned, and I lost quickly after. Now king e7 now castles, and bishop takes on c5, queen takes on c5, queen d6, that was interposing the check, and now rook takes on f7 is going to win the queen, and black here is busted. Let's go back to Soffer's move here. After check on b5, Soffer played king e7 immediately. Queen h4 check is met by f6. And after castles now, threatening queen takes on f6. g5 is met by queen h6, again hitting the pawn on f6. And after rook f8, Gindi played... He went on to win the game after queen takes h7, which is incorrect. More to the point would have been a direct win with rook takes on f6, another sacrifice, because after rook takes f6, queen g7 check, forcing rook to interpose on f7. Now the queen picks up the pawn on g5 after rook f6. The last of white's pieces enters into the attack, rook f1, hitting that unfortunate pinned rook on f6. And after king f7, releasing the queen to defend and extricating the king from the pinned bishop on d6, then white wins after rook takes on f6, queen takes f6, and one way to finish it off is bishop e8 check, trying to make use or take advantage of this overworked king. The king can't take the bishop because of queen takes queen, and when the king returns to e7, then bishop takes on d6 check is going to pick up the queen. So this has been the extraordinary Gindi trap in the closed Sicilian. Hope you found this useful, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.